I know I'm kind of late to this. I had and still do have slight issues. I had a tooth extracted, and I was pretty much down from the count from Thursday till today. But anyway, this is Fox's criticism of the people who criticize Donald Trump's hour-plus doom and gloom and the world is ending acceptance speech that he gave on Thursday night. And and I got to tell you, I watched the entire speech, and this guy, if he becomes president, we're all going to be in a shitstorm. But anyway, Miss Kelly decides that she's going to have obviously a Clinton supporter who's going to defend the comments that Clinton and President Obama made regarding the speech, and then she's going to have that used car salesman that was selling a cure for diabetes that didn't work, Mike Huckabee, on. So I'm going to jump in here from point in time to clarify a couple of things. Here we go.
News fallout tonight after Donald Trump's historic acceptance speech last night in Cleveland, as some leading Democrats ripped what they called Mr. Trump's darkly negative message as one meant to alarm Americans into supporting his campaign. Here's some of what they had an issue with.
Our convention occurs at a moment of crisis for our nation. The attacks on our police and the terrorism of our cities threaten our very way of life. The first task for our new administration will be to liberate our citizens from the crime and terrorism and lawlessness that threatens our communities. When I take the oath of office next year, I will restore law and order to our country.
Now, for those of you who missed it, Donald Trump got on the stage, he yelled for the hour-plus time that he was on, but honestly, he acted like this was not a democracy that he was president of, but a dictatorship, and by him snapping his fingers or ordering something, it was just going to instantaneously be done, not taking into account the fact that you got a Congress that has to act, and that you also have a judiciary that has to rule whether what you want to do is constitutional or not. But that being said, here goes Megyn Kelly with the Clinton supporter who is going to defend the comments slamming the speech.
And here's how Hillary Clinton and President Obama reacted.
This idea that America is somehow on the verge of collapse, this vision of violence and chaos everywhere, doesn't really jive with the experience of most people.
I heard about Donald Trump's dark and divisive vision. He offered a lot of fear and anger and resentment, but no solutions about anything that he even talked about.
Joining me now, Clinton supporter and DNC committee member Robert Zimmerman. So, Robert, the president is right that that doesn't really jive with most Americans' experiences, but he set up a straw man. He does this all the time. Trump wasn't saying that America's falling apart and there's murder everywhere. He was citing stats about increased murder rates and increased killings of cops. That's real.
Well, actually, according to every leading fact-checking organization, they're in fact not real. In fact, the Washington Post fact-checker that you often use on me made the point that upon closer scrutiny, these doomsday statistics fall apart.
Which one specifically? Because I'm looking at them right here. He said homicides last year increased by 17% in America's 50 largest cities. That's true.
Well, excuse me. The Washington Post fact-checker made the point that they have, in fact, declined by more than half since the height of 1991.
This is from Washington Post, that they have increased by 17% in America's 50 largest cities.
Excuse me, Megyn.
Okay, let me stop this right here. Okay. See, they're mixing apples and oranges, okay? The murder rate has declined by more than 50% since its height of 1991. Okay, the statistics they're trying to use is this year versus last year, where there has been an uptick in the amount of murders being done throughout the country. So if you just want to go this year versus last year, what Trump said is true. But if you want to look at the overall rate, it's declined by substantial amounts. The same thing with police shootings. Last year was the lowest, we had the lowest numbers of policemen killed in the line of duty, okay? This year it's up, and it's up specifically because of the 5 police officers that were killed in Dallas and the 3 police officers that were killed in New Orleans. If you take those out of the mix, the numbers are down versus last year, and this even includes the 2 cops that were killed in Kansas over the past 30 days. One of them was killed subsequent to the 3 cops that were killed in New Orleans.
If you read the whole article, they'll point out that in 1991, the statistics have shown that they in fact have declined in half. Furthermore, when he makes reference to police officers dying in the line of duty, that's also false.
No, it isn't.
Officers,
the number of police officers killed in the line of duty has risen by almost 50% compared to this point last year, he said. Washington Post. This is true if you use what the Trump... No, let me finish. The WAPO. This is true if you use what the Trump campaign did, July 2014 to July 2015, and compare it to the
that's why the Washington Post fact checker says that he's taking statistics out of context, he's manipulating them, and he's just sometimes playing
wrong. He's going back the last 12 months.
Excuse me, Megan. The bigger point here is I've seen third world dictators give more rational, factual speeches than Donald Trump did last night. He's a dangerous neophyte, and the fact that it's not just the Washington Post fact checker, but the Pulitzer Prize fact-checking organization PolitiFact said he was wrong as well. And the real issue here is the reason every leading general, most leading generals have criticized Donald Trump, as well as leading Republicans in Congress like Mike McCall, is because what he's saying is making us not more safe, is making us in a more dangerous environment.
How are we making us more dangerous?
Because according to Mike McCall, the chairman of Homeland Security in the House, when he advocated his ban of Muslims coming into our country, Chairman McCall said that was a recruiting tool for terrorists. Ray Ardiano made the point that, in fact, his strategy of just dropping bombs in the Middle East was dangerous and was hurting us in the war against ISIS. My point simply is, when you look at the ticket of Hillary Clinton and Tom Kaine running, you see stability and strength versus Donald Trump, who's a dangerous neophyte, and Mike Pence, who as governor actually advocated legislation that would allow businesses not to serve gay and lesbian people, when he shut the government down for not funding Planned Parenthood.
Back under pressure. I gotta go because I got another guest coming up. Okay.
See, it's the funny thing, now all of a sudden, when he starts making his points, she's gotta go. But now Mike Huckabee's going to come in here, and she's going to give him all the time he wants to make his bullshit claims, and I'll knock his down as he makes them.
See you, Rob.
It's great to be with you.
Joining me now, Fox News contributor Governor Mike Huckabee. So you heard dangerous neophyte whose policies would endanger us, in particular the Muslim ban, citing Mike McCall and others for that, Governor. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Robert Zimmerman talks about the Washington Post fact checkers. That's really liberal euphemism for saying that Pravda was once a journalistic giant.
Okay, but he also mentioned PolitiFact, and there are not too many people out there that want to dispute PolitiFact because they don't pull any punches on either side. So you can knock down the Washington Post fact checkers, and a lot of people from point in time to point in time do, but nobody screws around with PolitiFact, and they also said that Trump's statistics were wrong and he was taking some of them out of context. But Mike's not going to mention them.
The Washington Post fact checkers
up on the ones we were talking about.
Well, look, here's the problem. The Washington Post fact checkers will deny their own facts when someone points out to them that it validates some of the arguments that Donald Trump was making. Here's the fact. If you look at the overall murder rate, and let's look at murder rate, it has declined almost in half since 1993. But
okay, so he just confirmed He just confirmed what Zimmerman said, okay? But now he's going to try to drill down and talk about specific cities where it's increased.
You point out, in big cities where liberal policies have prevailed, the murder rate is substantially up. But one of the things that liberals never want to tell you is that while the murder rate has gone down nationally, guess what has doubled since 1993? The number of Americans who own their own personal weaponry. Obama goes around and talks about how Donald Trump was giving gloom and doom. Look, Obama and Hillary, they're not worried about, this kind of violence, not a home invasion. They're not worried about a carjacking. Why? Because everywhere they've traveled, and Hillary for almost 40 years, they're surrounded by people who are armed to the teeth, who have rocket launchers and all sorts of weaponry.
What about Hillary's point?
Clinton's people have rocket launchers? Really? That's the oldest trick in the book. He just changed the subject. Now he's going to make Clinton and Obama and all the other politicians, he's going to make them the guilty parties because they're rolling around with security, just like he was rolling around with security when he was running for the presidency. Sad.
President Obama's point was a straw man. He does that a lot. But her point that she didn't really hear any solutions other than I'm going to be the law and order candidate, which is a nice tackling. Is that a fair criticism?
Absolutely. He didn't give out any solutions. Everybody was waiting for solutions or policies during that speech, and he didn't put out any. But here's Mike. This is what he thinks a solution is.
No, because Donald Trump did offer solutions. He's going to show respect for the law enforcement officers so they don't wear targets on their back. He's going to stand with them rather than invite all the people who have shot them to go to the platform of the Democratic Convention. I mean, what Hillary is advocating is just nonsense.
Mike, sorry, that's not a solution. So you need to stop bullshitting.
So I think the contrast, Republicans are very happy to present to the American people. You want to stand with the cops or you want to stand with the crooks?
That's a false narrative. The narrative that is the true narrative is, if you wanted to make it, do you want to stand with the dirty cops or do you want to stand with the citizens? And America does not want to stand with dirty cops, okay? The good cops, absolutely, America wants to stand with them. So you're setting up a false narrative there, Mike. It's the cops that are breaking the law that aren't being held accountable that everybody's so upset about.
It's your choice. And, Hillary is going to go on to Philadelphia next week. I think she's going to have a very different answer for this. But it was interesting that while Obama was sort of sniffing at the idea that we're living in a dangerous world, it wasn't an hour later that shots were ringing out in Munich, yet another city, and it made him look completely out of touch with reality.
Just for the record, Hillary's not having, to my knowledge, anybody who tried to actually shoot a cop speak at the DNC.
She's having
the mother of Michael Brown, who Eric Holder's DOJ did find, tried to take a cop's gun and shoot him.
Okay, Eric Holder's DOJ was full of shit. Because, yes, there was a struggle at the officer's vehicle, but nobody can definitively say what went on at that vehicle other than Mike Brown had his hand on the cop's gun and he was shot by that cop's gun. Nobody can say whether he was trying to push that gun away from him as the officer pulled it or whether he was trying to pull the gun out of the officer's hand. There's no definitive proof on that one either way.
Great to see you, Governor.
Exactly.
Great to see you.
Yeah, Mike Huckabee is a used car salesman, and he's a liar. He's totally untrustworthy, and he'll say anything to push his side's point. End of story.